Shame thrives in silence, but one thing I know for sure is that when people speak up, the shame disappears.
Nathaniel just was like looking around, and then he looked at this person and he said, "Are you talking about me?" And this person was just kind of looked at him. I love my son, and he said, "I think you're the
X-linked chromosomal abnormalities, which means the mother was the carrier. And that was my situation.
These assumptions based off of diagnosis or specialty or whatever it is, they're really, really freaking dangerous.
Every parent carries a story, every advocate carries hope, and every caregiver deserves to be seen. Welcome to The Circle, where we come together at the Parent Forge to share, to learn, and to remember that our voices are strongest when they rise together. Shame thrives in silence, but one thing I know for sure is that when people speak up, the shame disappears. And so today we're going to talk about the shame that comes from the journey of caregiving and how we can navigate that. And one question coming to my mind to you ladies today is, where does the shame come from? What brings up that shame?
I feel like you have a lot to say.
You always have a lot to say. I'm trying to. I think the shame comes from our culture. And I think it's where, well, I'll speak for myself. I was raised to speak when I'm spoken to. And, the whole woman thing was a little different when I was growing up than it is today, thank God. But, the guilt, the shame, when Nathaniel was born. So I have this, little baby with Down syndrome. There was a big part of me that, whether it was shame or embarrassment, because when people, I'd say, "This is Nathaniel," and the hardest part was going into, moms, let's have a little play date. "Oh, Nancy, bring Nate, bring Nathaniel. We'll have a little play date." "Oh, little Johnny's walking and they're talking," and then they'd look at me and go,
Yeah.
"Oh, oh." And then that's when I would feel, should I be embarrassed? Should I feel shame because I have this son with a disability? And I was young. So, I was 25 and I didn't know what to do. So I took it up. Okay. I'm embarrassed. I'm feeling shame. And then as Nathaniel got older, because you look at him and I guess the upside of having a child with Down syndrome is they have a disability. But the looks, the comments back then, and it still happens. It still happens today. Nathaniel was out and somebody made a comment about retards, which we've really tried to get rid of the R word. But, and Nathaniel just was like looking around, and then he looked at this person and he said, "Are you talking about me?" And this person was just kind of looked at him. I love my son. And he said, "I think you're the retarded one." And I was very proud of him at the moment. But why should he have to stick up for who he is? Why should he feel any sense of shame?
Yeah.
But there were times when I would look at him and go, "Oh, honey, don't." He would dress like Urkel with his pants like I'm just here, and everything was buttoned up, and I'm like, "Oh my God."
That's a safety thing, like a security thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was also our generation of like TGIF and
Right.
do that. That's what
Right.
we did.
But that part of me was like, now you look more like what they're calling you. Oh. So then I've lived with that. And now it's like he goes out with sweatpants and a dirty sweatshirt. I like, dude, is this your choice? Are you choosing to look like a bum? Yep. Okay. Have a nice day.
So much
But
growth.
it's taken 41 years to get to this point of not feeling embarrassed or ashamed of what?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Do you think it's because you felt an innate responsibility to protect him from the judgment of other people?
Yes. Yes, definitely. But I also think a lot of it was I wanted to protect him, or maybe the question is both. Yes.
Yeah.
So I was protecting him, or was I protecting me?
Right.
Yeah. So, again, it's the journey we've talked about.
And as you bring that up, another thing coming to my mind, and I have a video on this channel on the 3 models of disability. And the first one, which is the moral model, and that is when people think, oh, there's something wrong with them. Oh, they're cursed. It's karma. There's something in their bloodline. And I'm from Africa. And so in Ghana, that still exists. Yes. So people with kids who have disabilities are secluded. Some people don't even seek support for their kid because they're in denial. They can't even accept that reality to take their kids out of the house to go find support for them. People who are rich enough will go bring the doctors in their house, and they don't, so they hide their kids. It's a secret, exactly. And it's funny because recently there are even pastors and bishops who are prominent in Ghana whose kids are coming on social media, and now it's out there that they have kids who have mental disability. But years ago, you wouldn't know. So you find a mom going to the priest, telling the priest to pray for them, but the priest actually has a kid who also has a disability. You know the irony of it. So it has taken social media for things to come out, for people to realize that, oh, so this pastor that I was even dependent on actually is also going through the same thing. So how is it that I'm the cursed one?
Right.
And the other one cleansing me, right? So as you share that, for me, shame means the mindset, the cultural mindset of there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with my family. There's something wrong with my kids. And a lot of people embodying that perception instead of embodying that social model, right? Where it's like, hey, we've all been born into this world. What is the barrier out there that I can get rid of? And that's where the empowerment comes in, right? That I can stand in and get rid of so that my kid doesn't feel like they're secluded or they can't live a full, thriving life, right? So as you're sharing that, for me, what comes up for me is that cultural perspective, that moral mindset of disability means there's something wrong with you, and it's spiritual, and it's because you did something wrong.
I'm sorry for monopolizing. I just
No,
want to
go
share
for it.
another story. So Nathaniel is in this wonderful program, Friends in Action, and every Wednesday during the college year, they go to the University of New Hampshire called Wildcat Friends. And so they're together, and then they'll go to a dorm. And over the years, we found that there are more UNH students involved in our program than there are participants. Take that. Anyway, that goes back to what we were saying earlier. Sorry. But what is fascinating to me in 2025 is how many college students have this perception of people with disabilities. We have a number of college students who actually changed their majors because they got to know all these, and they're not all people with Down syndrome, and they're on the spectrum, and it's all different types of disabilities. And they realize, oh, these are like human. These are people, and they have feelings, and they have thoughts, and they have very strong opinions on what they like and what they don't like. And even today, the stigma attached to someone with a disability exists. And it's less than it was, I think, 40 years ago when my son was born. But man, it's so eye-opening to these young students who are coming in today going, oh, I had no idea, and it's amazing the world that has opened up for them. And then they start feeling the shame. And it's sort of like, this is this terrible part of me that goes, good. Part of your journey, welcome to what it's like. And, I just want to say that Nathaniel at 41 talks, swears, eats, drinks, sleeps, does everything like everybody else.
Has a girlfriend.
He has a girlfriend that, granted, he doesn't treat very well because he never talks to her, but he speaks up. He's got an opinion. He can become an immovable object if he doesn't want to do something. But he's a human being, and people are so astonished when they meet him. Oh, wow, Nate talks
More than a diagnosis, yeah. More than a title.
And with the trainings I do, I think one of my very favorite ones to do is a training I called Hello, My Name Is. It's real simple, right? It's just, why don't we just focus on who the person is?
right.
Why don't we ask them, rather than having, they may go to the doctor, they may go to the therapist or whatever appointment they go to, and we assume why people are there. We just assume because I'm a specialist in whatever area, I assume what their need is. Why don't I just ask them what their name is, get to know them a little bit, we'll get to the rest. But these assumptions based off of diagnosis or specialty or whatever it is, they're really, really freaking dangerous.
Yes.
And what you were talking about with the students at UNH, your reaction, I call those aha moments for the students. And I learned that when I was doing the New Hampshire Leadership Series, which you're doing right now, yay. But we used to always talk about our aha moments. What were your key takeaways from whatever session we were in, and what was the thing that hit you? The thing where you said, "Oh, I'm going to remember that. That was something that will change me moving forward." And I am so grateful that these students get to have their aha moments because they can now pursue something that they may not have known was a passion for them or may not have known existed. They might not have known the friendships that I got to know growing up because I had my friends in school who had disabilities. They were my friends. They weren't my friends they were just my friends. But not everybody had that experience. And so these may be their aha moments that give them an opportunity to do something different than they planned when they came in and said, that dorm, that's going to be fun. Well, now they have a path, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is.
I'm going to jump off the track here a little bit. So another aspect of shame is the X-linked chromosomal abnormalities, which means the mother was the carrier. Yeah. And that was my situation. And it's an odd shame because in my case, it wasn't something that went through the panel. I was an older mother, but I went through all of the genetics panels and it wasn't on there. And then I found out that he has the illness. And I guess that's I don't know what you call it. He has his diagnosis, we'll just say that. And I felt such guilt that I'd given it to him and that my other two sons had a 50-50 chance and didn't. And what literally like a little bit of Russian roulette. And I didn't even know that that's what was happening, right? And then when we had to make the choice, we were given the option, I should say that, to have a bone marrow transplant. So he registered the symptoms that he dealt with were a little bit like hemophilia, low platelet, and then lowered immunity. Some of these kids, the lowered immunity is what takes them because they are just prone to everything. My son was really well because we lived on a farm and I breastfed and we did all these good things for him. He was very healthy. So they actually didn't believe his diagnosis. They checked it twice at Children's. So long story short, we are weighing, gosh, he's so healthy. Do we take on something scary like a bone marrow transplant that does have a fatality rate? And you've already been told that your son has something that's 1 in a million. He's like 1 in a million. So your belief in statistics, all those things they tell you, how do you feel about this vaccination? There's a this and a this and a this rate. And you go, oh, well, that seems reasonable. Then you have a kid who's 1 in a million. And then you lose faith that statistics mean anything at all because you don't know where you are within that template, right? So I did have a friend who, as I was weighing the things they told us, okay, he could die. He could have graft versus host and it could attack his organs. He could have skin issues. He could have cognitive issues. He could not go into puberty and have to have a induced puberty. What else? Not smart, not tall, on and on and on and on. And they gave us all this information and then they say, let's know what you'd like to do. What makes sense to you?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I'm sorry.
I don't know how to make this decision. And so I was talking with a person who I thought was a close friend and I was weighing all these things out. Like, gosh, do we let him have 11 full happy years? Or do we move forward with this treatment and we discover that he, rolls the dice and he gets all of the thing and he's miserable for the rest of his life? How would I live with that?
That's a lot.
And of course, I don't know, it sounds weird to say, but my husband is a Mensa card carrying member. He is an engineer. He is a very bright man. And my friend looked at me and she just said, I don't know what your problem is. I can't believe that your fear that your son wouldn't be smart would keep you from having this life-affirming treatment.
Wow.
I was trying to weigh the quality of my child's life.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to get a guarantee that he'd be somebody's idea of perfect.
Mhm.
I was trying to understand, like, I did not want to make a decision that would ruin his life.
Yeah.
And that shame followed me. Not her. I'm really good at saying you were not a useful person to me. You can go now.
But still,
But
those
the
words
words
were said.
were said. And then the shame even after, when he, his lungs did collapse, he was in ICU. He came home addicted to 3 narcotics that we had to wean off of him, like my son, scratching at his face, pounding his head into a floor, very typical addict weaning behaviors. And then he was on steroids for a long time with a very red face, and people would make comments like, "Oh, a little too much sun," and I'm like, "There's been no sun." And he wore size 3T until he was 6, and he is smaller than his brothers. And and I always thought, did I make the right choice?
You absolutely did.
I did. I
So
know that now.
to
When
that
he's
other
18,
person.
he'll be 18 this week. But in those, there were times in those years where I thought, like when we waited for puberty, I've never been so excited to smell BO in my life. We didn't know, was this going to be another thing? He's missing 8 adult teeth, and there's some possibility that came from the chemo. Did I make the right choice? The right choice. And I don't know that we ever know if we make the right choice. We just make the best choice. So again, can you imagine, I'm going to make a plug, if I were back in that listening circle and I had been able to say that to a group of people who knew not to judge, who knew not to lay their own things on me, what a godsend that would have been.
Yes, yes. And on that, we're going to wrap up. You don't need to carry shame. You don't need to do this all by yourself, because we are a community. You can join us. So please check out our free listening circles. We do them weekly. Go to theparentforge.com/listening circles to sign up and get your free link to join. Come as you are. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to be put together. Just show up and just be. And start your journey and connect with people, caregivers, who understand the journey you are on and will not shame you, because you don't need to walk around feeling shameful anymore, because there's nothing wrong with you. So check out the listening circles, and we hope to see you next time. Take care. Thank you for joining us in the circle at the Parent Forge. If this conversation spoke to you, we'd love for you to join our free weekly listening circle, a space to pause, breathe, and connect with others who understand the journey. Subscribe, share, and keep the conversation going. And remember, together we are forging strength, one conversation at a time.